Chapter 31 System Reward, Vortex Seal Technique. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Looking at everything that happened in the projection of White Zetsu, Obito looked a little confused. Is this really a ninjutsu teaching? Are you sure you are not joking? However, he felt that the two ninjas in the projection looked very familiar, as if he had seen them somewhere. Wait. Aren't these Bai Ye and Nagato who saved Noara Lin last time? Why are Nagato's eyes like mosquito coils? Did he disguise himself when he came into contact with them? Moreover, why did Uchiha Madara observe these two people? As if guessing Obito's thoughts, Uchiha Madara said lightly, "The samsara eye is beautiful, right? That is my eyes. Now these eyes are just a pair of substitutes." Substitute? Aren't your eyes Sharingan? Obito frowned and looked at Uchiha Madara and said. What's so strange about the ordinary Sharingan evolving into 3 Magatama and Mangekyo and eventually becoming Samsara Eye? Since it is your eyes, why do they appear on other people? Obito asked back. It is to realize the Moon Eye project. It is a world without pain and losers. Everyone is immersed in the world of illusion, slowly aging and dying in happiness. Uchiha Madara slowly told his plan. He would tell Obito sooner or later. You are really ridiculous, old man, to indulge in ridiculous fantasies and eventually die. After I repay you for saving my life, I will leave here and face reality. Obito was dismissive of Uchiha Madara's plan. In his opinion, Madara was just an old man with a confused mind. Uchiha Madara didn't care about Obito's speech. He said lightly, back to the topic just now, is Nagato's talent better than yours? Without the ninjutsu scroll, he still developed the ability of the samsara eye. Obito rarely refuted. Nagato's talent was indeed much better than his. However, the next moment, Obito seemed to have thought of something and asked back, Nagato's talent is better than mine, but is it because of your poor teaching ability? If you just throw the ninjutsu scroll to me, who can learn it? If you teach me in person, I will definitely not learn so slowly. Hearing this, Uchiha Madara smiled. His goal was accomplished. Obito took the initiative to ask him for advice. He only needed to delay enough time to prepare a plan that would make Obito despair, in the Akatsuki base. Bai Ye, will you continue to study the ability of the black stick today? Looking at Bai Ye holding the black stick in one hand and the mythological book in the other, Nagato was no longer surprised. Even he began to doubt whether the six-path sage recorded the ability of the samsara eye in the historical books for future generations to learn. It's just that because no one has opened the samsara eye, it is regarded as an ordinary myth. As for why yin-yang release can only create black sticks, but not real life, it may be because his power is not as good as the legendary six-path sage. After all, he had a feeling that his samsara eye was not complete and needed something to assist it in creating real life. However, even the incomplete black stick had good abilities. It could limit the flow of chakra and act as a signal receiver for remote communication. It was even possible to control the animals in the forest and turn them into summoned beasts by inserting the black stick. Today, we will develop other abilities and not study the black stick for the time being. Bai Ye shook his head and put away the yin-yang escape sword that he had asked Nagato to make. He was thinking about what to make up so that Nagato could comprehend the remaining samsara eye abilities. The abilities of the hell path and the human path were both very good and could greatly enhance Nagato's strength. While thinking, Bai Ye did not forget to sense the white Zetsu hiding in the tree trunk, and secretly wondered if the white Zetsu's surveillance was a bit too frequent. Some time ago, as Nagato's strength grew, he also got the reward of the Kagura heart. Kagura's heart eye is the strongest perception technique of the Uzumaki clan, which can enhance the perception of ninjas and expand the perception range to dozens of kilometers around. Thanks to such a powerful perception ability, he can perceive the specific actions of White Zetsu. However, White Zetsu's surveillance is so blatant that he also doubts whether he has been under the surveillance of Uchiha Madara. But this also proves that his previous cautious behavior is correct, if he really explains the ability of the samsara eye seriously and tells Nagato the development direction. Not only Uchiha Madara, but even Nagato may doubt himself. after finding out the record of the 6 paths sage gathering chakra from others from the classics, Bai Ye walked to Nagato and began to guide Nagato to develop the ability of the samsara eye to absorb chakra. Not long after, Nagato mastered the chakra absorption technique. After Bai Ye made a seal with his hands to create a pool of water and smashed it, Nagato absorbed the chakra and the water escape, making the water flow created by the chakra disappear in an instant. Seeing this, Nagato said happily, "I have mastered a new ability." Bai Ye was also very happy, and a system prompt sounded in his mind. System prompt: Akatsuki organization adds a Kage-level strongman, and rewards the Uzumaki clan's sealing technique. Nagato has become a Kage-level strongman now. After seeing the content of the system prompt, Bai Ye was stunned, but thinking about it carefully, it makes sense. At the age of 16, Nagato's body is actually almost mature, enough to bear the basic consumption of the samsara eye. Nagato currently has the Shinra Tensei, the Tensei Tensei, the chakra absorption and the black rod manufacturing technique. Taking out one of them alone is enough to create an elite jonin, and it is very normal to reach the level of Kage when combined. However, after reaching this step, it is difficult for Nagato to improve his strength. Unless he can master most of the abilities of the samsara eye and use them flexibly, he can reach the level of Super Kage. Super Kage is a level that does not exist in the original work, referring to ninjas who surpass the 5 Kage. In the system's evaluation, it is probably the combat power that can fight a ninja village alone. Nagato in his Prime Plus Pain 6 Paths is about this level. Without thinking any more, Bai Ye clicked on the system reward, and the Uzumaki clan sealing technique appeared in his mind. This time the reward is a big gift package similar to Paper Style Basics, which contains a large number of Uzumaki sealing techniques. You have obtained the sealing technique for Symbol Seal. You have obtained the sealing technique Vajra Seal. You have obtained the sealing technique Shiki Seal. You have obtained the sealing technique Contract Seal. After seeing the additional sealing techniques on his panel, Bai Ye secretly knew that he would have to practice more in the future. Moreover, it seemed that he would never be able to break away from the Uzumaki clan. Even if he took the initiative to distance himself from them, no one would believe him. However, he was a little disappointed that the reward he received was not the samsara eye, but these sealing techniques. But the reward of the samsara eye would not appear so easily. At least there must be a super shadow level strongman in the organization before this level of reward could appear. Having obtained the system for so long, he had already figured out the reward rules of the system. The system rewards are closely related to the strength of the organization members. Ordinary organization members are rewarded with fire escape, water escape ninjutsu or attribute-based rewards. Only strong people at the jonin level and above can explode good things that are useful to them. However, even if it is the basic attributes, the effect of superimposing them together is extremely terrifying. Retracting his thoughts that were gradually dispersing, Bai Ye planned to hand over a few simple sealing techniques in his mind later. If other people in the organization could learn these sealing techniques, the strength of the organization would be further enhanced and more feedback would be obtained. Chapter 32 The Uzumaki clan has long been destroyed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After a few days, Bai Ye mastered most of the Vortex sealing techniques rewarded by the system, except for the corpse seal because the conditions for its execution were too harsh. He had practiced the other sealing techniques several times, and the results were very good. It could prevent Baiju's invasion and prying eyes to a certain extent. However, he was not in a hurry to arrange the barrier in the base, but only arranged it around the room. When he can sense the position of white Zetsu, there is no need for him to be too alert. This will instead make Uchiha Madara suspicious. Knowing that he already knows about white Zetsu's existence, maintaining your choice like this is the best option. As for whether Baiju would invade the room while he was away, he had long ago destroyed the evidence of the time travelers, leaving only the diary recording the daily life of the Akatsuki organization. After locking the door, Bai Ye came to the room where Huali was and knocked on the door gently. A few seconds after the knock on the door, Huali opened the door in a panic, her breathing a little short. After seeing that it was Bai Ye, Huali buried her face in her hair, as if she was a little embarrassed to see people, and whispered, "Sir Bai Ye, why did you come here suddenly?" Bai Ye glanced at the messy layout in the room and Huali, who had a strange look on her face. She understood something and closed the door politely. A few minutes later, Huali, who had straightened her manners, opened the door again and welcomed Bai Ye in. At this time, Huali not only wore round glasses, but also wore the clothes of a homely literary girl. After seeing Bai Ye sitting on the sofa, Huali poured tea and said, "Sir Bai Ye, I'm sorry, the room was a little messy just now, which made you laugh." "I'm afraid it's not just the house that's a bit messy." Bai Ye couldn't complain, but he couldn't point it out directly. He came to Huali this time to see Huali's growth progress, and to teach Huali the Vortex sealing technique. After all, Nagato's strength growth has reached a period of stagnation, and he can only rely on other good talents to earn gold coins. After the awkward atmosphere lasted for more than 10 seconds, Bai Ye took the initiative to start the topic. "Huali, how are you studying the medical books and medical ninjutsu I gave you? Is this what Mr. Bai is here for? What else?" Bai Ye took the teacup, sipped the tea gently and said, "Am I here to visit a stay-at-home girl? A whole week has passed since the last time I asked you to go out." Huali adjusted her glasses and smiled awkwardly. Due to her previous experience, she became afraid to go out. In addition, life in the base was very convenient. She only needed to help people see doctors to survive, and there was no need to leave the base. "Sir Bai, I have read all the medical books and learned the art of palm immortality." As she said that, Huali found a white mouse from somewhere. After scratching the surface, a green light came out of her hand and treated the mouse's wound at an extremely fast speed. Seeing this scene, Bai Ye was also a little surprised. Learning the palm ninjutsu is not easy. It is an A-level ninjutsu. Being able to learn this ninjutsu shows that you have a very deep grasp of medical knowledge. Huali is actually a genius in medical ninjutsu. However, after learning such an advanced ninjutsu, why hasn't Carrie's evaluation improved? Noticing the strange expression on Bai Ye's face, Huali lowered her head and said, "Am I not doing enough? I have only learned this ninjutsu during this period, and I am still exploring other medical ninjutsu." Bai Ye discovered the blind spot and asked curiously, "Didn't you learn other ninjutsu for self-protection?" Huali raised her head and said with a confused look, "Sir Bai, you only asked me to read medical-related books and learn medical ninjutsu by myself. You didn't say you wanted to learn other things." Hearing this, Bai Ye understood everything. Karen did not learn combat-related ninjutsu. No wonder her strength has not improved. She is still at the level of a chunin. If she wants to gain the strength of a jounin, she must start from other aspects. There was nothing wrong with her decision to share the whirlpool sealing technique with Huali. "Pack your things and prepare to go to the training ground with me. Nagato goes to the training ground every day, and you have to go there and exercise too. You have gained weight after staying at home for so long." Fat. Huali immediately became alert, looked in the mirror, and sighed, "I have gained some weight, but this is the price of comfort. I hope to pay a little more." Having said that, Huali still followed Bai Ye to the training ground. Seeing Nagato running around the training ground, Carrie's expression dropped a lot. She quickly looked at Byakuya and said, "Byakuya-sama, shouldn't I also be training physically like Nagato?" "Of course it's more than that. Nagato is the son of prophecy and was born with the Rinnegan eye. He exercises his physical strength just to adapt to the power of the Rinnegan eye. You have nothing but the Uzumaki bloodline." After a pause, Bai Ye continued, "The only thing I can do is learn the sealing technique to increase my ability to protect myself. It's enough to have Lord Bai's protection." Halfway through her words, Huali seemed to think of something and her eyes widened. "Wait a minute, Lord Bai, you just wanted to teach me the sealing technique? I remember that there is no sealing technique in Zhao's secret vault. Guess who sent the ninjutsu from the secret library?" Bai Ye spread his hands and took Huali to sit aside. After tapping her forehead, he said, "Don't delay any more. I'm going to teach you the Vitra blocking technique now. King Kong blockade." After hearing the name of this sealing technique, Huali froze on the spot, and after reacting, she said, "Sir Bai, this is not the secret technique of the Uzumaki clan. How did you learn it? Is it the secret technique of your Uzumaki clan?" Bai Ye frowned deliberately and said in confusion, "This is the ninjutsu recorded on my bookshelf. Maybe my parents know the ninjas of the Uzumaki clan." "No, you are a member of the Uzumaki clan, it is impossible to teach secret techniques of this level to outsiders. Even ordinary Whirlpool members are not qualified to learn them. They must become Jounin before they are qualified to access them. After pondering for a moment, Huali said seriously. Byakuya-sama, there is one thing that Nagato and I have always wanted to tell you. You may be a descendant of the Uzumaki clan like me. We couldn't confirm it before, but we can confirm it now. One of your parents is probably an Uzumaki ninja, and his status is not low in the clan. Huali originally thought Bai Ye would be shocked after hearing the truth, however, Bai Ye just smiled and revealed it lightly. I don't know if they are Uzumakis, but the Uzumaki clan has been destroyed long ago, and even you and Nagato have lost this surname. Instead of wasting time thinking about this, it's better to think about how to become stronger. Chapter 33 Uchiha Madara who refuses to admit defeat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yes, the Uzumaki clan has long been extinct, and we are no longer Uzumaki ninjas. Hara sighed softly. After saying this in person, it was as if a heavy burden had been lifted off her shoulders. The identity of the Uzumaki clan did not bring them glory, but great misfortune. After the demise of the Whirlpool country, the Uzumaki ninjas who wandered alone in the ninja world not only had to face the pressure of life, but also had to guard against the covetousness of ambitious people. After all, the ninjas of the Uzumaki clan are the most suitable candidates to become experimental subjects and Jinchuriki. Without a doubt, whether becoming an experimental subject or a Jinchuriki, life will only become more unfortunate. After taking a deep breath, Kara looked at Bai Ye again and said loudly, Master Bai Ye, let's start learning the diamond seal now. I will try my best to learn it. Looking at the high-spirited Kara, Bai Ye also nodded softly. Finally, the topic of the Uzumaki clan was fooled, but he did not admit that he was a Uzumaki ninja. In this way, if other bloodlines and bloodline limits appear in his body in the future, he won't have to worry about explaining it. Underground space. Uchiha Madara, the Shura of the ninja world, frowned, and his face was extremely gloomy. Just now, he encountered something more difficult than dealing with a Kage-level strongman. That is, teaching Obito to master the fire style, great fire extinguishing. In his opinion, the fire style, great fire extinguishing is the simplest ninjutsu. You only need to make 2 or 3 seals and mobilize the fire attribute chakra in your body to successfully perform this ninjutsu. How could such a simple ninjutsu not be mastered in a week? It must be that Obito, the kid, didn't work hard and deliberately delayed the learning progress. But from Obito's desire to return to Konoha, he should have doubled his efforts. In fact, Obito, who was working hard to learn the seals, was also very innocent. The fire style, great fire extinguishing was much more difficult than the great fireball technique. It took him several months to learn the great fireball technique. This was due to his laziness, but it also proved that his talent was actually not as good as Kakashi's. It's just that he has been stubborn and didn't admit it. But this time, he didn't think he was wrong, but Uchiha Madara's teaching ability was problematic. The scroll clearly recorded more than 10 seals for the Great Fire Slayer, but Uchiha Madara only demonstrated 3 seals. How can he use the Sharingan to imitate and learn this ninjutsu? And when he took the initiative to ask, Uchiha Madara put on a stinky face as it should be, and didn't consider the feelings of the poor students in the ninja school at all. After calming down, Uchiha Madara looked at Obito. Obito, your talent is too bad. It's so hard to learn the Great Fire Slayer. Maybe I shouldn't have saved you and let you die. After being hit in succession, Obito couldn't help but retorted, Old man, your teaching level is too bad. If it was teacher Yumino Ikaku, I would definitely be able to learn it. Who is Yumino Ikaku? Uchiha Madara asked back. Obito explained, teacher Yumino is a chunin in the ninja school. Although he is only a chunin, his teaching level is much higher than yours. Chunin? Are you comparing me with chunin? Uchiha Madara raised his eyelids. He admitted that he was not as good as many ninjas, such as Hashirama Senju and the legendary Sage of 6 Paths. But Obito actually said that he was not as good as a chunin. This was too much and hard to accept. This is obviously a problem of your talent. How can it be linked to me? This is how I learned it. Hashirama only made 1 or 2 seals to release ninjutsu. Only some insidious thousand hands ninjas would make seals all the time, and I am teaching normally. I didn't throw out the historical books of Uchiha for you to understand by yourself, and I also gave you detailed ninjutsu scrolls. If you still can't learn it, it's not my problem. Uchiha Madara, who was a little mentally broken, directly found White Zetsu, used White Zetsu to project the scene of the Akatsuki organization's training ground in real time, and tried to lower his voice and said, "Obito, take a good look at how others learn ninjutsu." Obito looked disdainful, but he still watched the projection honestly. On the one hand, he took the opportunity to understand the situation outside, and on the other hand, he was looking for reasons to refute Uchiha Madara. Prove that it was not his problem, and Madara's teaching level needs to be improved. In the projection, Bai Ye first took out the ninjutsu scroll that recorded the diamond seal, and then patiently explained to Huali the principle of the diamond seal and the chakra changes involved. When Huali encountered questions that she didn't understand, she would ask for advice in time and received patient answers from Bai Ye. After understanding the principle of the diamond seal, when it came to the actual operation, Bai Ye slowed down the speed of the seal, and explained it step by step from the seal action and the chakra flow position. Finally, after several hours of learning, Huali released the unstable diamond seal. Not only was there only one chain behind her, but the movement speed was also very slow. After only a few seconds, it collapsed by itself. Seeing this, Obito said sourly, "Old Madara, now you should admit that there is something wrong with your teaching level. Look at how gentle and careful Bai Ye is in teaching, just like Mr. Kaigao. This is impossible. Last time, he only had the mythological books to complete the teaching." Uchiha Madara muttered to himself. He couldn't accept that he was not as good as a chunin, not as good as a young boy, and began to force himself to save face. Seeing Uchiha Madara's self-doubt, Obito took advantage of the victory and said, "Old Madara, this is called teaching students in accordance with their aptitude. When facing students with different learning levels, we need to use different methods to teach them. Nagato's talents are obviously different from those of Karen, so we use different methods." Uchiha, who had regained his composure, nodded, "Yes, I shouldn't have high expectations for you. You are not a genius like Nagato, you are just an incompetent brat, and a loser." After hearing the words ineffective and the end of the crane, Obito became anxious. He knows that he is a loser, but he does not want to be called a loser by others. This is a matter of face. I'm not a loser. I just haven't studied seriously yet. Old Madara, just wait and see. I will definitely learn this ninjutsu, but you must be a useless teacher. After saying that, Obito held the ninjutsu scroll and began to study it, as if he would not give up until he achieved his goal. Perhaps realizing that his teaching ability was somewhat lacking, Uchiha Madara ignored Obito, but silently watched the projection, trying to learn the details of Byakuya's teachings to Karen, in order to restore his image in Obito's mind. Growing up, he had only lost to one person, Hashirama, and everyone else was defeated by his subordinates, but he is really not good at teaching others, and the same goes for Hashirama, so as long as he learns a little bit, he can surpass Hashirama in this aspect and beat Hashirama once. After all, it is already the 30th year since Hashirama's death. Chapter 34 Remembering Those Days. You are listening at novelfull.audio. He cast King Kong Blockade again and watched the golden chain shatter in a short period of time. Huali, who was a little tired both physically and mentally, came to Bai Ye and said with a look of disappointment on her face, "Sir Bai Ye, I have spent so much time yet not learning the Vajra blockade. Have I let you down with my talent?" Bai Ye smiled and said nothing, just looking at Huali quietly. "Before teaching, I explained that the learning difficulty of King Kong blockade is a level. A level ninjutsu is not a bad ninjutsu. Even a jounin from the 5 major ninja villages would be very good if he could master 1 or 2. It only took Huali one morning to form a chain, and her talent was already very strong. It is estimated that it will only take half a month at most for Carrie to completely master this A-level ninjutsu. Now that she says she is not talented, she is most likely trying to be lazy." Seeing through Huali's little thoughts, Bai Ye said calmly, "Everyone has different talents in learning ninjutsu. Huali, you may not have much talent in sealing. It's because I am too demanding on you. However, since you can't use sealing skills to protect yourself, you can only practice physical skills. I will prepare a 30-kilogram weight for you. Let's run 20 kilometers to warm up today, and then do special physical training tomorrow. Technical training. After listening to Bai Ye's words, Huali's face was full of tangles, and finally she seemed to have made some kind of determination and said. Byakuya-sama, I feel that we ninjas with Uzumaki blood flowing in our bodies should not forget the traditions of the Uzumaki clan. I have an obligation to learn the Uzumaki sealing techniques and carry them forward. Really? Bai Ye asked doubtfully. Huali nodded quickly. She felt that compared to practicing physical skills, sealing skills were boring and fearless, but at least it was a project that could be practiced at home. There was no need for devil training outside like Nagato every day. She has extensive medical knowledge and knows how to avoid building ugly muscles and becoming a violent muscular woman, but compared to the outside world, she still likes to hide in her room and read books, studying medical ninjutsu, and the sealing technique is still within an acceptable range. After sending Carrie to continue practicing King Kong blockade, Byakuya was warming up while thinking about the development of the Akatsuki organization. The Akatsuki organization currently has a very good development environment. Konoha and Iwagakure are fighting a ninja war outside, and there is no time to penetrate into the country of rain. Inside, there are Sanshuyu Hanzo lying around, and they don't care about the affairs outside the village of Amigakure. They can recruit at will. New member, if this development can continue, in as little as 3 years, as long as 5 years, the Akatsuki organization will have the strength to challenge the Hidden Rain village and bring down Sansho Hanzo. After receiving feedback at that time, even if he does not have the strength of the Hokage, he will still be at the level of the Mizukage, but the premise of all this is that there is really such ample development time. In this regard, Bai Ye has always had doubts in his mind. He was not sure whether Sansho Hanzo would notice the Akatsuki organization and nip the threat of the Akatsuki organization in the bud in advance, which would eventually lead to the loss of both the Akatsuki organization and Amigakure village. There is no guarantee that the 5 major congresses will not attack the Kingdom of Rain and turn the Kingdom of Rain into a battlefield again. All this is still unknown. At this moment, an Akatsuki member walked into the training ground. After seeing Bai Ye, he quickly lowered his head and said, Sir Bai Ye, please take a look at some information about the Rain country. After saying that, the Akatsuki member handed the scroll in his hand to Bai Ye. Bai Ye nodded slightly, and after gesturing for the Akatsuki members to get down, he slowly opened the information scroll and carefully read the information on it about the Third Ninja War from the outside world. It's not a lot of information, but it's important. It says that Namikaze Minato led the Konoha ninjas to destroy the Kanabi Bridge and win the Battle of Kanabi Bridge, which completely ended Iwagakure's hope of large-scale invasion of Konoha itself. After paying such huge casualties, it would be difficult for Iwagakure and Konoha to carry out a large-scale war. In addition, there are some gossips, such as the Kirigakure village on the other side of the ocean is ready to move and may intervene in the war at any time, and a large-scale conflict may break out between Kumogakure and Konoha at any time. However, these are not important to the Akatsuki organization. On the contrary, the end of the Battle of Kanabi Bridge aroused Byakuya's vigilance. After losing the focus of the Ninja Village War, the careerists in the ninja world are likely to focus on the Land of Rain, and then discover the existence of the Akatsuki organization. Next is Uchiha Obito, who may have encountered Madara's conspiracy and may be lying underground now. At this time, Bai Ye seemed to suddenly think of something and looked into the distance. Judging from the time point, Zetsu stepped up surveillance half a month ago. Could it be that Obito had already met Uchiha Madara at that time, so he stepped up surveillance? But that doesn't make sense. Why was Madara Uchiha spying on him and Nagato when they had nothing to do? Do you have any special hobbies? I'm not a handsome senju, I haven't learned wood release, and my appearance and personality have nothing to do with Uchiha Izuna, so there's no need to be targeted. No longer thinking about it, Byakuya called Karen and Nagato, and brought up the news about the Battle of Kanabi Bridge in front of them. On the one hand, he encouraged the two to practice hard, and on the other hand, he also told Uchiha Madara and Dai. It sounds like a native speaker. Uchiha Madara was broadcasting live to him every day, so he naturally had to act more naturally. after reading the lips of Byakuya and others, Uchiha Madara held his chin with one hand and said with some emotion, "The war between houses is finally coming to an end. Konoha is really weak now." As a ninja who ended the troubled times together with Senju Hashirama, Uchiha Madara is indeed qualified to say this. In his time, the other ninja villages did not have the strength to challenge Konoha at all. Under the pressure of Susanoo and the Wooden Buddha, there was only a difference between heartfelt submission and oral submission. In short, one must show surrender, but just a few decades later, it is really ridiculous that Konoha has become so weak. Obito, who was distracted while learning ninjutsu, happened to hear Uchiha Madara's emotion, and came over and asked, "Where is the war going to end? Is it the battle to destroy the Kanabi Bridge? I knew Minato-sensei, Kakashi and Rin would succeed." Uchiha Madara glanced at Obito and said disdainfully, "If I were still in Konoha, this war would have been impossible to start. It only takes 3 minutes for me to make that boy Anoki kneel down." "Who is Anoki?" Obito scratched his head. "He is the third Tsuchikage, a junior with some resilience. Unfortunately, he is not strong enough. He and his teacher were no match for me back then." "Old Madara, just brag, can you beat the Tsuchikage?" Facing Uchiha Madara's side, Obito was deeply suspicious and asked with his hands on his hips. Chapter 35 The Birth of Black Zetsu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Faced with Obito's doubts, the corners of Uchiha Madara's mouth twitched slightly. He just tells the truth and has never deceived others about his strength. Anoki was a rookie back then, and it seems that he has not improved much now. At most, he has gained more experience with age. No matter how powerful the dust release is, it just needs to be avoided. The reaction speed is a disadvantage that Anoki cannot make up for. Seeing Uchiha Madara's face stiffen, Obito took advantage of the victory and pursued him. "Old Madara, if you are really so strong, why did you leave the village and hide in this dark place? Why don't you go back and lead the family? Those descendants without foresight are not worthy of my leadership." Uchiha Madara tried to quibble in front of Obito. He was so proud that he was unwilling to admit that he was abandoned by his tribe. Obito did not delve into this topic, but continued, "And, if you are really that strong, Madara, why don't you directly implement the Eye of the Moon plan? It should be easy to deal with Naruto with your strength." After hearing this, Uchiha Madara was silent for a long time and suffered a huge psychological blow. If you want to realize the Moon Eye plan, you must first collect the 9-tailed beasts and seal them all in the outer demons. This move will definitely offend the 5 major ninja villages and trigger a siege by the entire ninja world. With his current physical condition, it was very difficult to even control the Rinnegan, let alone collect tailed beasts alone. Even dealing with that boy Anoki has the possibility of overturning unless he is restored to the physical condition of his youth, but this requires a lot of preparation in advance. And the owner of the reincarnation I must voluntarily activate the reincarnation technique. After coughing slightly, Madara Uchiha said, "You who can't even learn B-level ninjutsu are not qualified to talk about my strength. And don't forget the kindness I gave you in saving your life." As soon as the life-saving grace came out, Obito suddenly stopped. The habits he developed in Konoha allowed him to know how to deal with old men and old ladies, but the kindness of saving his life was too heavy, which put him at a complete disadvantage in negotiations. After a long time, Obito organized his words and shouted, "I will repay the kindness I owe you sooner or later, but don't expect me to respect you. You have been quietly watching Bai Ye for so long. You should know that you are not a good teacher. With you, I may never learn how to put out the fire." Uchiha Madara took a deep breath, dragged the oxygen tube to Obito, and slowly stretched out his hand. Obito was a little scared, but he didn't know whether to hide or not, so he could only stay where he was, shivering. At this time, Uchiha Madara put his hand on Obito's forehead, and while casting the Sharingan Genjutsu, he said, "The previous tests were just to test your mettle. As Uchiha, our teachings are all conducted through illusions. You will soon know how powerful I am in teaching." Obito, who had double Magatama, could not resist Madara's Genjutsu and soon entered the Genjutsu space. In the white illusion space, Obito saw Madara Uchiha in his youth. The other person sighed softly and said in a helpless tone, Obito, please watch out for me, this is how the fire extinguisher is used. Before he finished speaking, Uchiha Madara slowly formed seals, slowed down his speed 10 times, and shouted in a low voice, "Fire release, great fire extinguishment." In an instant, with Uchiha Madara as the center, a ball of flame spit out from his mouth, and soon enveloped the area hundreds of meters in front. Lasting for more than 10 seconds, after the ninjutsu ended, Obito looked at Uchiha Madara completely differently. Uchiha Madara enjoyed the look and said calmly, "This is my strength when I was young. Unfortunately, I am old now and cannot use all my strength. I can only show it to you in the illusion space." "When you were young?" Obito said with some suspicion. "Old Madara, are you lying to me on purpose? This is an illusion space, are you cheating?" Uchiha Madara snorted and said, "I never lie to others about my strength. In the entire ninja world, there is only one Senju Hashirama who is stronger than me. Everyone else is defeated." Seeing that Uchiha Madara was so sure, Obito stopped doubting and said to himself, "Old Madara, the only one who is better than you is the Hokage. In other words, as long as I surpass you, I can become the 5th Hokage. It seems that I have another goal that I must surpass." "You want to be Hokage?" Uchiha Madara glanced at Obito, his eyes intriguing. Obito said rather dissatisfied, "Why, do you, like everyone else, think that I can't become Hokage?" "That's not true. I just think Hokage is ridiculous. After sitting in that position, the friends we once had are no longer friends. Maybe this is the price of becoming Hokage." Recalling his past experiences, Uchiha Madara was filled with regret. Obito couldn't understand these words, but Uchiha Madara didn't give Obito any time to continue thinking. He looked into Obito's eyes and said, "Don't waste time. Since you want to become Hokage, just practice with me." Hearing this, Obito nodded seriously. Naruto has always been his dream. After spending most of the day in the illusion, Obito finally learned how to extinguish the fire. After successfully replicating the results in reality, Obito's eyes towards Uchiha Madara became completely different, and his tone became much more respectful, changing from "Old Man Madara" to "Grandpa Madara." Hearing the call of Grandpa, Uchiha Madara's body trembled, and then he returned to the chair to rest. He had consumed a lot of chakra by performing illusions, and now he just wanted to have a good sleep. When he woke up again, Uchiha Madara noticed Obito, who was so tired that he fell asleep. After holding his chin with one hand and being in a daze for a while, the scene of the quarrel with Obito during the day gradually came to mind, and a smile gradually appeared on his lips. Since the death of his last brother, Izuna, he seems to have rarely taken care of the younger members of the clan. Maybe it would be good to train Obito in this way and let him run for the 5th Hokage. In this case, Uchiha can also welcome a Hokage of his own. Soon, Uchiha Madara abandoned this unrealistic idea, and his eyes became more determined. His goal has always been the Eye of the Moon project. When did he become so weak? If it was just for Hokage, there was no need for him to leave Konoha back then. Hashirama is a narrow-minded person who can only see his family and the village, but his eyes have always been on the entire ninja world. Only by completing the Moon Knight plan can eternal peace be achieved, rather than changing from a fight between families to a fight between ninja villages and ninja villages. Thinking of this, Uchiha Madara looked at the pitcher plant white Zetsu on the side, and slowly stretched out his arm. In the process of realizing the Eye of the Moon plan, any soft-heartedness is fatal. A will loyal to the Eye of the Moon plan must be created in order for the plan to be implemented smoothly. The next moment, a pitch-black humanoid figure gradually condensed into shape, blending into the white pitcher plant in front of it. Looking at the pitcher plant white Zetsu divided into black and white, Uchiha Madara said in a faint tone, "You are Uchiha Madara's will. From today on, you will be called Black Zetsu." The interaction between Uchiha Madara and Obito is almost written, and I will write less in the future. Chapter 36, Bet with Yahiko. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At the same time as Black Zetsu was born, Bai Ye also woke up from meditation. After seeing the sky gradually getting darker, Bai Ye stood up and shouted to Nagato and Carry in the distance, "That's it for today's training. Pack up your things and prepare to go back." After hearing this, both Nagato and Carry breathed a sigh of relief. although Bai Ye's starting point is good, and they also know the benefits of training, people always have a tendency to be lazy and don't want to live so hard and busy every day. As he walked towards Bai Ye, Nagato seemed to remember something and said to Carrie, "Have you told Bai Ye about that?" Karen glanced at Nagato, shrugged and said, "Are you talking about the Uzumaki bloodline? It's basically confirmed. What Lord Byakuya taught me today is the secret sealing technique of Uzumaki. If you are not a direct descendant of the family, you will have ghosts. But Byakuya-sama doesn't have much affection for Uzumaki, and he didn't mention anything related to Uzumaki. Sometimes I still envy Mr. Byakuya's black hair. As long as he doesn't take the initiative to expose it, it's hard for others to guess that he is also a member of the Uzumaki clan." Hearing this, Nagato also showed an envious look, but it quickly disappeared. His mother's identity as a member of the Uzumaki clan was not revealed, but she still died at the hands of a ninja, and at the hands of a Konoha ninja who was an ally of the Uzumaki. After a pause, Huali continued, "But Mr. Byakuya also said that the Uzumaki clan has been destroyed long ago. There is no need for us people to inherit the name of the Uzumaki clan. We just need to live our own lives." Nagato was silent for a while, then nodded and chuckled. "Bai Ye is really awesome. I won't let go so easily. However, although the kingdom of Whirlpool is destroyed, this is our home." Bai Ye smiled knowingly while listening to Carrie and Nagato's discussion about him from a distance. He is not an Uzumaki ninja at all, and of course he has no feelings for the Uzumaki clan, but it is not bad if this misunderstanding continues. At least he has created a character for himself who has stepped out of the shadows and is unwilling to mention the past. The rest of the setting depends on the two of them. After the two of them came to his side, Bai Ye talked about the upcoming training mission. Both looked surprised when they heard that they only had 10 days to train in the next month. Based on their understanding of Bai Ye, they thought Bai Ye would let them train every day. After seeing what the two were thinking, Bai Ye said with a smile, "Stop thinking nonsense. To strengthen your body, you must pay attention to the balance between work and rest. I can't watch you every day. We are all ninjas and will need to go out to perform missions one day." Hearing this, Nagato and Carrie were a little embarrassed. When they wanted to explain something, Byakuya had already left. Looking at Byakuya's back, Nagato and Karen had the illusion that Byakuya was their elder. However, in terms of age, Byakuya was the youngest, but they had always been taken care of by Byakuya. After leaving the training, Bai Ye did not go home, but came outside the Akatsuki organization's office. He hadn't seen Yahiko for half a month, and this time he received news of the end of the Canopy Bridge battle. He just happened to talk to Yahiko about it and the Akatsuki organization's development plan. Pushing open the door, Yahiko, who was working, noticed Bai Ye and said with a smile, "How come Bai Ye is willing to come here?" Bai Ye glanced at Yahiko and said angrily, "Leader Yahiko, how about I leave now?" Yahiko made a gesture of reluctance and apologized, "It's just a joke. You are always welcome here, but you won't come here if there is nothing important." "Is this because of the end of the Battle of Canopy Bridge?" Bai Ye found a seat to sit down and nodded. "It is related to the Battle of Canopy Bridge. I estimate that after this battle, the large-scale war between Konoha and Iwagakure will end, and both sides will focus on other things. On the battlefield. Isn't this a good thing?" Yahiko asked in confusion. He didn't understand Bai Ye's thoughts. Byakuya shook his head slightly, and then said, "It is a good thing for Konoha and the country of grass, but it may not be a good thing for us." "Why?" Byakuya explained, "Although Konoha and Iwagakure have stopped large-scale fighting, the infiltration of ninja teams will not stop. In order to consume the enemy's power, they often use some unconventional means. For example, causing trouble in enemy-occupied areas, such as pretending to be enemy ninjas and killing civilians." Byakuya's words made Yahiko look more serious. Yahiko knew very well that the examples Bai Ye gave were things that could easily happen in reality and were indeed worthy of attention. After pondering for a moment, Yahiko said seriously, "Byakuya, thank you for your reminder. I will let the ninjas in the organization protect civilians and try to avoid such things from happening. This is Akatsuki's purpose." Hearing this, Bai Ye shook his head. "Yahiko, you still don't understand what I mean. My focus is not on protecting civilians, but on Akatsuki's current situation, which is very dangerous. Will the situation of the Akatsuki organization be very dangerous? Yahiko couldn't understand. In his opinion, the Akatsuki organization is currently very safe. With nearly 10 jounin in charge, other organizations will not have the ability to eliminate the Akatsuki organization unless the 5 major ninja villages take action themselves. It's possible that the 5 great ninja villages and Sanshuyu Hanzo. I believe in the 5 great ninja villages, but how could Master Hanzo possibly attack us? After hearing about Sanho Hanzo, Yahiko breathed a sigh of relief. He did not think that Sanho Hanzo might take action against the Akatsuki organization. On the contrary, it was more likely that the other 5 major ninja villages would take action. After all, Sancho Hanzo is the idol of all Rain Country ninjas and a living legend in a hidden Rain village. After pondering for a while, Yahiko looked at Byakuya and said, "Byakuya, you still think too much. There is no need for Hanzo-sama to eliminate us. As long as he is willing to accept us, the Akatsuki organization can join Amigakure village at any time." Bai Ye also looked at Yahiko. He did not doubt Yahiko's determination. In the original plot, when Sancho Hanzo showed his kindness for the first time, Yahiko took the risk of being ambushed and went to the venue of the meeting with only Nagato and others. This was already very sincere, but it was a pity that Sancho Hanzo did not accept the idea of the Akatsuki organization. In the end, Yahiko died in Sanho Hanzo's conspiracy, and Hanzo died in the hands of Pain's 6 paths. It can only be said that both Sanho Hanzo and Yahiko made the wrong choice and paid the price for it. After snorting softly, Bai Ye said, "Whether you believe it or not is your choice. I have already regarded Sanho Hanzo as an imaginary enemy. Yahiko, if you want the wings of the Akatsuki organization to cover the land of rain, sooner or later you will face this old demigod." Yahiko shook his head and said disapprovingly, "I still can't imagine a scenario where the Akatsuki organization and Hanzo-sama are hostile. Byakuya's thinking is too extreme. Everyone else may deal with us, but only Hanzo-sama cannot." Looking at Yahiko, who was so determined, Bai Ye suddenly smiled. He originally wanted to subtly change Yahiko's mind, but he made a more interesting decision. He decided to make a bet with Yahiko. Thinking of this, Bai Ye stood up, put his hands on the table, looked into Yahiko's eyes and said, "Leader Yahiko, since you are so sure, why don't we make a bet? If Hanzo doesn't take action against the Akatsuki organization within 3 years, I can promise you anything and help you wholeheartedly. On the contrary, I want your position as the leader of the Akatsuki organization. At that time, you are no longer qualified to continue to lead Akatsuki." Chapter 37 2 Methods. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the contrary, I want your position as the leader of the Akatsuki organization. At that time, you are no longer qualified to lead the Akatsuki. Faced with the bet proposed by Bai Ye, Yahiko did not agree immediately, but began to think calmly. Judging from his understanding of Bai Ye is an extremely cautious person, and it is impossible to propose such a bet without absolute certainty. But Sanshuyu Hanzo is the hero of the Rain Country. In the last war, he led the Rain Country to fight against the invasion of other big countries. This war was prevented from spreading to the land of rain simply because of the existence of Sancho Hanzo. Such a hero had no reason or need to take action against the Akatsuki organization, but what if? What if Hanzo the Sanshuyu really takes action against the Akatsuki organization? Yahiko didn't dare to imagine, and he didn't know what would happen when the time came. However, one thing can be confirmed. At that time, he was really not qualified to be the leader of the Akatsuki organization. It would not be an exaggeration to say that he was a sinner of the Akatsuki organization. After hesitating for a while, Yahiko nodded and joined the bet. "Byakuya, I agree to your bet. If Hanzo-sama really takes action against Akatsuki, the position of leader will definitely go to you." "Very good, the bet has been established." Bai Ye also nodded with satisfaction and made a bet with Yahiko. He just wanted to make a bet with Yahiko. Fortunately, when Hanzo attacked the Akatsuki organization in the future, he would slap Yahiko in the face. He really had no interest in being the leader of the Akatsuki organization. As for whether Hanzo will take action against the Akatsuki organization. Even if Hanzo does not attack the Akatsuki organization within 3 years, it is time for the Akatsuki organization to launch an attack on Amigakure village. The reason is very simple. The Kingdom of Rain is too small, and the narrow country area is not enough to accommodate 2 ninja organizations. No matter what happens, the new Akatsuki organization will face Yuin village sooner or later. The 2 sides can only annex each other and cannot coexist peacefully. After the episode about the bet ended, Bai Ye brought up the business. By the way, how is the contribution system going recently? That the bet was just the product of a whim. He did not forget that his real purpose in finding Yahiko was to understand the current situation of the organization so that he could formulate a plan for the next stage. Yahiko thought for a while and then said, the contribution system is currently running well. Everyone is generally satisfied, but there are still some areas of dissatisfaction. For example, the contribution can be easily calculated for missions carried out outside, but for ninjas who stay at the base, it is difficult to measure the value. Although everyone has no objections on the surface, there are already complaints in private. It's not about scarcity but about inequality. Bai Ye commented. What do you mean? Yahiko fell into a blind spot of knowledge and couldn't understand. It means you can accept it, but you can't accept unfairness. Before the contribution level came out, everyone was selfless and used to a life of giving without reward. But now that the contribution system has been introduced, everyone cannot accept unfair things happening. After listening to Bai Ye's explanation, Yahiko nodded and said, as expected of Bai Ye, he pointedly pointed out the problem of the contribution system. What solution do you have? Bai Ye asked back. 2 methods. Do you want to temporarily alleviate it, or do you want to eradicate it completely? As soon as he heard the choice from Bai Ye's mouth, Yahiko had an ominous premonition, but he still said, tell me both methods and let me see which one is better. If we want to eradicate it completely, we can just disband the organization. If there is no organization, there is no need to distribute it. Bai Ye glanced at Yahiko, and in the other's speechless eyes, he said the second method. The second method is to continuously adjust the existing system based on feedback and find a solution that is acceptable to most people. This is a good idea. Yahiko nodded lightly, looking at the enthusiastic Yahiko. Bai Ye coldly poured cold water on him and said, I know you will choose the second option, but the reality is that the first option is very likely. The organization's financial estimates will soon have a gap, and then they will not worry about distribution issues because there will be nothing. Is there a financial crisis again? We are still very comfortable on the books. Yahiko's eyes widened. Byakuya seemed to have given a solution just now, but it seemed that the organization was facing a financial crisis again. The current financial situation was obviously very good. Byakuya pointed at his throat, and Yahiko quickly poured a cup of tea upon seeing this. After moistening his throat, Bai Ye said, do you still remember that my organization is about to fall into crisis? The crisis does not only come from ninjas, but also the financial crisis. Konoha and Iwagakure are no longer fighting large-scale wars. Who will sell the detonating charms produced by Shounen? Don't forget, the current detonating symbols are all sold at high prices, so they can barely support the financial consumption. Once prices return to normal prices, organizations will either stop recruiting people or do less to win people's hearts. Don't just live a comfortable life for a few days and then go back to hard times. Yahiko was silent. Bai Ye was talking about the current situation of the Akatsuki organization. Currently, the Akatsuki organization only has 2 ways to obtain money, missions and selling detonating talismans. The income from the former is negligible. In this case, once the price of detonating symbols drops, there will be a financial crisis in minutes. The only way to solve this problem is to restart the war, but this is inconsistent with the purpose of the Akatsuki organization. But if it stops recruiting people, the Akatsuki organization will stop developing, and it will be unable to bring peace to more ordinary people, almost falling into an infinite loop. Looking at Yahiko's sad face, Byakuya felt a lot happier. Although the ninja world is a world where force is paramount, before one has super shadow or even 6th level strength, the rules are almost the same as those in the previous life. The war between ninja villages was a competition of strategy and tactics from the very beginning. Once the tug-of-war period comes, the competition will be whether the financial resources of the country behind Ninja Village are strong. This is also the reason why every time the ninja world fights against Konoha, they don't get much benefit. But they always recover quickly, because the fire country behind Konoha is the richest country. The small ninja village outside the 5 great ninja villages is completely different. For example, in the Kingdom of Rain, although a strong man like Hanzo appeared by chance, due to the country's insufficient foundation, even if it achieved temporary achievements, it could not be sustained. In the end, it was beaten back to its prototype and forced to implement a strategy of isolation from the country. The reason why the Akatsuki organization during Yahiko's period did not encounter this problem was because the organization was too small. Once a ninja village reaches the size of a small ninja village, even if it is only a few hundred people, financial issues must be considered. Otherwise, the Akatsuki organization during the Nagato and Conan era would not be keen on accepting bounty missions to prepare war funds. However, the Akatsuki organization of that period had long since abandoned Yahiko's ideas and had gone completely dark. After Yahiko pondered for a while, he looked at Bai Ye again. Bai Ye, who had been prepared for a long time, slowly stretched out 2 fingers and said the solution: 2 methods. One is to secretly provoke a war. You will definitely not agree to this. The second is to acquire some profitable industries and develop new products while you still have money. In the future, you will rely on industry to maintain the operation of the organization. You no longer have to rely on selling detonating symbols to make a living. I think you will choose this. Chapter 38 Going Out. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After hearing Bai Ye's suggestion, Yahiko nodded subconsciously. Bai Ye has become more and more understanding of his thoughts recently, knowing that he cannot develop the Akatsuki organization by secretly provoking a war, so he provides a way to acquire industries to solve the development crisis of the Akatsuki organization. But seeing Bai Ye's playful eyes, Yahiko began to doubt the rationality of this suggestion. After thinking carefully, Yahiko felt that Bai Ye had said useless nonsense. Investing in profitable industries would naturally make money, but since they had already made money, others did not need to invest unless threatened with force. This went against the original intention of the Akatsuki organization and fell into an endless loop. Bai Ye roughly guessed Yahiko's thoughts and said with a smile, "Don't worry, I won't let you use force to acquire properties. I have several good ways to make money." Byakuya was not fooling Yahiko, but he really thought of many ways to make money, which was to make a lot of money by turning ninja technology into civilian applications. The reason is also very simple. The gap between military and civilian technology in the ninja world is too big. When the Konoha laboratory began to clone the Muduan Shuejia, farmers in the countryside relied on human labor for planting. Even on important days such as spring plowing and autumn harvest, they only entrusted ninjas to solve the problem. This may be because low-level ninjas need to entrust tasks to obtain income, or more likely because the nobles want to restrict ninjas, allowing ninjas to only engage in the mercenary industry and unable to get involved in other industries also indirectly maintain the dominance of daimyo and nobles. But for Bai Ye, there is no need to abide by this rule. Then it's up to you, Bai Ye. Yahiko didn't think that much, but he didn't doubt the authenticity of Byakuya's money-making idea. After all, the last financial crisis of the Akatsuki organization was solved by Byakuya, and there would be no problems this time. At this time, Bai Ye suddenly looked at Yahiko and asked, "Yahiko, before that, I have a question to ask you. What should you do if our property is coveted by other ninjas and nobles? Should you surrender it with anger, or should you fight back on your own?" Hearing this, Yahiko fell into deep thought. He knew that Bai Ye was not just talking about industry, but also referring to the Akatsuki organization. After thinking for a long time, Yahiko said slowly, "Counterattack. If we are forced to that point, all we have left is to fight back. We cannot deliberately fish." I have similar thoughts. It seems that we still have something in common in some aspects. Bai Ye ignored the second half of the sentence. After his unremitting efforts, Yahiko finally got rid of some childish and naive thoughts. After all, As long as the Akatsuki organization develops, it will inevitably have interest disputes with Yuin village, and it is only a matter of time before a strong conflict breaks out. However, in his plan, the Akatsuki organization will replace the Rain Hidden Village sooner or later and become the true ruler of the country of Rain. For now, it is just accumulating strength. When the time comes, he will take action against the Rain Hidden Village regardless of whether it is hostile or not, and by that time, Yahiko's opinion no longer matters. Yahiko didn't know what Bai Ye was thinking, he just felt a little emotional. In front of Bai Ye, he, the Akatsuki leader, was a little incompetent. He couldn't solve any major problems and could only stay in the office and deal with official duties day after day. Yahiko feels that he is too incompetent, but Byakuya doesn't think so. Although Yahiko's character is too naive, he still has merits in some places, such as his good-natured character and his patient and gentle work attitude. As a leader, it is difficult for this kind of person to make the members of the organization hate him, and he can make the organization more harmonious. Moreover, in addition to his mascot attributes, Yahiko can also handle trivial matters according to his temper, wasting precious time on dispatching tasks and condolences to the villagers. Byakuya asked himself, he did not have this time. As for letting someone else in the organization be the leader, Conan may have this ability if he trains for a few more years, but forget it for someone with a weak character like Nagato. Others are neither capable nor qualified to serve as the leader of the Akatsuki organization. In the final analysis, ninjas are just a group of professional mercenaries who have not received many days of formal education. Although Conan, Nagato, and Yahiko are not good at it, they have received the teachings of the famous teacher Jiraiya and are different from others. More importantly, becoming a leader would become a target for all forces to gather fire, which was not in line with his plan to make a fortune quietly. After chatting for half an hour, Bai Ye left the Akatsuki organization office. At the same time, he also received a task from Yahiko, asking him to go out with Xiaonan to sell detonating charms tomorrow, and to see if there was any place to invest. Byakuya didn't reject Yahiko, and he hadn't gone out for a while. He always stays in the base and has no actual combat experience. It would be funny if he is like Kagaya Otsutsuki, who can't defeat the enemy despite having a scary height. Early next morning, after Bai Ye finished his warm-up exercises, he came to the door of Xiaonan's house. After ringing the doorbell for a while, Xiaonan opened the door and said with sleepy eyes, "It's Bai Ye, what are you doing here?" Bai Ye looked at Xiaonan for a few times, and when he saw the traces of dark circles under his eyes, he couldn't help but frown. "Xiaonan, you stayed up late again. Didn't I tell you about the relationship between supply and demand?" "I didn't stay up all night, I just stayed up all night." Xiaonan tried her best to explain, rubbed her eyes, and then said, "And I have recently reduced the sales of detonating charms. I have put the excess detonating charms in the warehouse for everyone to exchange, so that everyone can be safer when they go out to perform tasks. Don't stay up late anymore. If your body collapses, you will lose more than you gain." Hearing this, Bai Ye couldn't say anything more. Overtime work in Zhao's organization was basically normalized. Before, he didn't even get a salary. It was all for love, and Xiaonan's behavior of handing out explosive charms can be regarded as promoting the development of the organization in disguise and working for himself for free. It's just that he is a little worried that Xiaonan will die suddenly if this continues. At this time, Xiaonan seemed to remember something and asked, "By the way, you haven't said what you want to do with me yet. Does Yahiko want you to go out with me on a mission again?" Bai Ye nodded. "It's almost the same as last time, but there is an additional task of going out to invest. Please show me the map of the towns in the Kingdom of Rain." Xiaonan took out the map from the room and handed it to Bai Ye. After asking for a map from Xiaonan and finding the location of the black market, Bai Ye asked doubtfully, "The map hasn't been updated. Wasn't the black market here destroyed? It seems like another black market has been built in the same place." Hearing this, Bai Ye felt helpless to complain. Although he knew that the underground market like the black market must be related to the local nobles, it was not a good idea to appear in the same place after it had just been wiped out 2 months ago. However, considering that the country of Rain is only so big, there is no other place suitable for establishing a black market. After writing down all the locations on the map, Bai Ye returned the map to Xiaonan, and the two left the Akatsuki organization base together. it's not in good condition, so I'll just update it. I'll make it up tomorrow. Chapter 39 Hanzo has a villain around him. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Not long after, Xiaonan and Bai Ye arrived at the black market of the Rain country. The process of arriving at the black market this time was unusually smooth, and there were no accidents during the period. Everything went smoothly, and Bai Ye was surprised when the public security in the Rain country was so good. Originally, he was thinking that if he met a group of wandering ninjas, he could have a real battle after a long time, and by the way, see if there are any good seedlings that can be recruited to the organization and become peripheral members of the organization. Unfortunately, he didn't even encounter a mountain bandit who blocked the road and robbed bandits along the way, let alone ninjas. But on second thought, although the rain-hidden village of Hanzo of the Salamander did not maintain public security, the Akatsuki organization had been taking over secretly, at a time when the Akatsuki organization spared no effort to protect the villages in the Rain country. It would be abnormal for a large number of mountain bandits to appear, not to mention encountering some powerful wandering ninjas. How many truly powerful ninjas would choose to wander? Unless they offended the people in power in the village. After arriving at the familiar town, Xiaonan turned her head and looked at Bai Ye. The black market is ahead. Will we act together this time? Or will we complete our respective tasks separately? Bai Ye glanced at Xiaonan and said, let's act alone. I'm worried that it's not safe enough here. Xiaonan nodded, showing an expression of as expected. After the experience of carrying out the mission together last time, she knew that Bai Ye didn't like to deal with too many people and preferred to move in the shadows. This is different from most people in the organization. After the two confirmed their respective actions, Bai Ye did not leave immediately, but followed behind Xiaonan, and at the same time let the paper clone collect information about Xiaonan around. The reason is very simple. Since Xiaonan entered the black market, many eyes have begun to stare at her, including black market merchants, wandering ninjas, and the people behind the black market in the Rain country. Bai Ye was able to sense these sights thanks to the Kagura heart eye that exploded from Nagato. Kagura's heart eye is a very strong perception ninjutsu, and it can even distinguish the good and evil of others from perception. From this aspect, Kagura's heart eye is even more terrifying than the Byakugan and Sharingan. Continue to follow Xiaonan. After turning into an alley in the black market, Xiaonan found a black market merchant. After seeing Xiaonan, the black market merchant immediately showed a flattering smile and approached. Xiaonan has been a frequent visitor in recent months. Every time he comes, he will bring a large number of detonating talismans to sell, so that he, as a middleman, can make a lot of money. Xiaonan was not confused by the flattering smile of the black market merchant. After taking out the scroll where the detonating talisman was stored, he began to bargain. One party said that because of the recent calm of the war, the demand for detonating talismans has decreased, and the price will drop. The other party said that the production of detonating talismans is limited, and if the expected selling price is not reached, she would rather not sell it. Bai Ye is not very interested in the bargaining process. He just wants to know who the owner of this black market is. At this time, Bai Ye noticed the bodyguards around the black market merchant and became more interested in this merchant. The chakra of these people is far beyond that of ordinary people, reaching the level of Chunin, and the merchant who traded with Xiaonan is even more extraordinary, with the chakra in his body at the level of Jonin. It's just that there seems to be something wrong with his body, and he looks very weak. After some bargaining, Xiaonan left the alley with a box of money. Bai Ye did not leave with him, but hid in the corner to observe the black market merchant. In addition to selling detonating talismans with Xiaonan, he also had to look for partners to make money together. It is obviously much easier to cooperate with existing merchants than to start from scratch, and the black market merchant in front of him is one of the good choices. After Xiaonan completely left the black market, several ninjas approached the black market merchant and made a gesture of wiping their necks. Master Shigeru, this blue-haired female ninja is here to sell detonating talismans again. Should we take her down? I heard that she is also a ninja of the Akatsuki organization. This organization has been developing in secret, but the leader has never surrendered to Master Hanzo. It's a good opportunity to take her to see Master Hanzo. After listening to the report from his subordinates, the black market merchant shook his head. The most important thing in the black market is the rules. We can't break the rules here. And do you think the ninja who dares to sell detonating talismans is an ordinary person? She must have one of the 5 major ninja villages behind her. We just need to make a little profit. There is no need to offend the 5 major ninja villages. I will report the information here to Master Hanzo and let Master Hanzo decide. Yes, Master Shigure. Several rain ninjas said respectfully. You guys go down first, don't disturb my rest. After waving his hand to let his men leave, Shigure turned around with a gloomy look, as if he was very impatient with these men. Bai Ye heard the conversation between several rain ninjas and noticed Shigure's gloomy look. The black market merchant named Shigure was actually a jonin of the hidden rain village. He was not surprised at all. The black market in the land of rain must be inseparable from the top leaders of the land of rain. However, he did not expect that this black market was directly controlled by the hidden rain village, and the merchants were all ninjas of the hidden rain village. This is not good news. It means that Conan's actions of selling detonating tags and purchasing supplies have been under the observation of the hidden rain village. Maybe Hanzo has also been paying attention to the Akatsuki organization. Now Hanzo has not taken action against the Akatsuki organization, maybe it is just that the Akatsuki organization is too weak and Yahiko's philosophy is too mild. What kind of threat can an organization that advocates everyone to sit together and talk every day pose? The existence of the Akatsuki organization may also fill the security gap in Byakuya village outside the village. Hanzo may also be happy to see the Akatsuki organization grow, and in a few years, let Ujian village and the Akatsuki organization merge together. Of course, the premise of this situation is that there is no interference from external factors, but it is impossible for the Kingdom of Rain, the land of the 3 wars, not to be disturbed. A chaotic Kingdom of Rain is in the interest of the 3 surrounding powers, therefore, the Akatsuki organization can show that there is no threat, but it cannot really have no strength to resist. After memorizing Shigure's name and chakra fluctuations, Byakuya quietly left the black market and arrived at the meeting point with Conan. After meeting Bai Ye, Xiaonan asked curiously, Bai Ye, how is your investment plan? Bai Ye deliberately put it off and asked, the investment plan has some clues, but first, guess who the black marketeer you are dealing with is? You're following me. But what does the identity of a black marketeer have to do with us? Byakuya explained with a look of helplessness, the black market merchant's name is Shigure, and he is a jonin of hidden aim village. This means that your behavior of selling detonating charms and purchasing supplies has always been under the attention of Sancho Hanzo. Isn't this a sure thing? Our activities cannot escape Hanzo's eyes. Xiaonan didn't think there was anything surprising. Almost everyone in the Akatsuki organization didn't think Sancho Hanzo was a threat to the Akatsuki organization. If he had only heard about Sancho Hanzo's deeds and didn't know the future plot, Bai Ye would also think so. It is a pity that the brave man Sancho Hanzo eventually became an evil dragon and killed the new brave man, giving birth to a more terrifying demon king. Faced with this stubborn ninja, Bai Ye decided to use another explanation. Of course Hanzo will not take action against the organization, but who knows if there will be some villain around him to seduce him. What if he takes action against the organization? Xiaonan nodded in agreement, glanced at Bai Ye, and said with a serious face. Bai Ye, you are right. We must avoid this situation from happening. What exactly do you plan to do? Do you need my help? Or should I purchase supplies elsewhere in the future? Bai Ye was slightly startled by Xiaonan's change of attitude, but continued. Now that the organization has been exposed to Hanzo's eyes, it is too late to hide it. You should still remain active in the same way as before. Just leave the rest to me and Yahiko. Hearing this, Xiaonan nodded slightly, I believe you, Bai Ye. Xiaonan's trust made Bai Ye feel warm in his heart, but after calming down, he finally realized that something was wrong. Did Xiaonan think that he was a demagogue and traitor in the Akatsuki organization? Chapter 40 The Magic of Akatsuki. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Although Xiaonan may have misunderstood herself, Bai Ye didn't bother to explain anymore. After the stereotype is formed, any explanation will only become darker and darker. He is only preparing because he knows the reminders of the future plot, but in the eyes of people like Conan and Yahiko, he is somewhat persecuted and paranoid, but they also know that everything they do is for the Akatsuki organization, and they are just complaining. In the next week, Xiaonan purchased various supplies, and by the way began to invest in some industries that were very promising in peacetime. And Bai Ye suggested that he start establishing peripheral organizations. Byakuya has been active near the black market, observing black market merchant Shigeru and collecting relevant intelligence. Through the black market, Akatsuki members and other channels, Bai Ye collected a lot of useful information. According to the intelligence, Shigeru was a jonin from the Hidden Rain village. He participated in the last Ninja World War under the leadership of Hanzo and made many achievements. However, due to some reasons, not only was he not reused, but he was sent to guard the black market. Exited the core layer. Moreover, Shigeru still has extremely serious hidden injuries, and it seems that he cannot exert his strength as a jounin. After experiencing these things, it was impossible for Shigeru not to resent Amigakure village, not to mention the observation over the past few days. Byakuya had faintly discovered that Shigeru was even a little dissatisfied with Sanshuyu Hanzo. It seems to be because of the bad behavior of Sanshuyu Hanzo in recent years. The most important thing is that Shigeru has a good impression of the Akatsuki organization and has given Xiaonan convenience many times. After learning this information, Byakuya had the idea of meeting Shigeru. If we can convince the other party to cooperate with the Akatsuki organization, we can provide some wrong information to Sanshuyu Hanzo at the critical moment and provide the Akatsuki organization with more development time. No time wasted. That night, Byakuya stopped Shigeru in a small alley. Looking at the unidentified ninja in front of him, Shigeru stretched out his hand to kunai and said with a vigilant face, "Tell me your identity and purpose of coming within 3 seconds, otherwise I will take action." Bai Ye slowly walked out of the darkness, revealing her thin figure and delicate face. After seeing that the person who came was just a boy, Shigeru breathed a sigh of relief. He was just a boy. How strong could a ninja be? But he didn't take it lightly. He didn't have the strength he had at his peak now. Byakuya raised his palms, and the golden chains flew out of his cuffs, controlling Shigeru at a speed that was difficult to detect with the naked eye. Shigeru waved his hands and feet to resist, but found that he couldn't do it. "Who are you anyway?" Shigeru's eyes were filled with horror. Although he had been injured in the early years and his strength had dropped a lot from the subversion period, he still had the strength of a special jounin, and he actually lost to the boy in front of him in a single encounter. At this age, this strength is more terrifying than Konoha's genius Kakashi. Where did this monster come from? Moreover, in addition to controlling his body, the flow of chakra in his body was also restricted. After being frightened, Shigeru began to try to communicate with Bai Ye. "Who are you?" "I'm just a small businessman. Please don't embarrass me, a small businessman." Bai Ye said expressionlessly, "Small businessman? A real small businessman will not carry a chakra dagger with him, nor is he close to the strength of a jounin." After seeing Byakuya come out, Shigeru breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that the other person had no intention of killing him. "Otherwise, I wouldn't talk nonsense to myself. He has not shown his identity as a ninja for several years. How did the other party know that he was a ninja and guess his general strength?" In this case, there are only two possibilities. The first is that the other party has mastered his past, and the second is that the other party is far stronger than him and has also mastered some special perception ability. No matter which one it is a very big threat to him. After taking a deep breath, Shigeru said with some uncertainty, "Why did you come here? Is it for money, or was it sent by my enemies to kill me?" Byakuya did not answer immediately, but walked to Shigeru, opened his mouth and took a pill. Feeling the pills melting in his mouth, Shigeru's expression changed. The other party wouldn't want to use poison to control him, but Shigeru soon felt something was wrong. Not only did the pills not have a negative impact on his body, but they were repairing the hidden wounds in his body. Bai Ye not only didn't poison him, but also gave him magic pills, but the two of them didn't know each other at all, so the other party must have something up his sleeve. Therefore, even though he was favored by Byakuya, Shigeru's expression became more solemn. Seeing that the atmosphere was almost heightened, Bai Ye said while unblocking King Kong, "I'm here to invite you to join our organization. If you don't want to, I can only let you forget this memory." Shigeru's expression changed, and his mind quickly recalled his experiences in the past few months. as well as the various organizations active in the Land of Rain. Thinking of a certain name, his face softened a lot, and he asked with some uncertainty, "What is the name of your organization?" Bai Ye had no need to hide anything and said directly, "Shao." However, what Bai Ye didn't expect was that Shigure didn't hesitate at all and said immediately, "Okay, I will join the Akatsuki organization." After hearing this, Byakuya was a little surprised. This Emigakure Mergenin agreed to join the Akatsuki organization so easily. He thought he needed to state his interests and finally use some means. However, could this be the opponent's delaying strategy? Byakuya was very doubtful, but at this moment a clear electronic voice sounded in his mind. Special Jounin Shigure joined the Akatsuki organization, and you obtained the water escape and water dragon bullet technique. After hearing the system beep, Byakuya's expression turned from suspicion to confusion, and he asked Shigure, "Did you agree too readily? You are a ninja of Amigakure village." Shigure raised his head and said seriously, "I am a ninja from the Land of Rain. If it is really the rumored Akatsuki organization, I will not refuse." The rumored Akatsuki organization is an organization that helps villagers resist bandits. As a ninja from the Land of Rain, is it any wonder that I choose to join such an organization? And I've already taken your pills. I don't have the right to choose. I can only pray in my heart that you are really a member of the Akatsuki organization. So are you still worried about the pills you gave yourself? Byakuya saw through Shigure's thoughts at a glance and understood that the other party only deliberately boasted about the Akatsuki organization in front of him because his life was in his hands. However, Byakuya was a little surprised that the Akatsuki organization could receive such a high evaluation from the Jonin Amigakure. It's no wonder that Yahiko from the original time and space was able to rise up in just a few years, making even Sanho Hanzo feel threatened. It's a pity that the Akatsuki organization is too idealistic and should not exist in the ninja world. Ask yourself, if you were the leader of Yuin village and heard that Yahiko had such a reputation in the Land of Rain, he would try Zhaoan for the first time, and if he failed, he would immediately eradicate him. Please read.